Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthias Kopf. I'm a product manager at Molecular Health. I'm happy to present you MH-Guide, our software for interpretation of tumor profiles. As we all know, the space of biomarkers, assays, targeted therapies is constantly growing. Also, the assays used are growing. The numbers of clinical trials which are investigating biomarkers are growing. All that poses several challenges to clinicians and molecular pathologists. First, of course, by pure expansion of the number of therapy options, by more complex biomarkers, and also by more growing demand on technologies, and especially the numbers of genes and biomarkers to analyze. All this complexity demands for highly automated interpretation and reporting to be able to handle the growing volumes of cases. And exactly that's what's provided by Molecular Health Guide. Our software is a CE-IVD for variant interpretation and reporting, and it highly automatically transforms genomic data into clinically relevant information, gives you fast and comprehensive access to databases for variant interpretation and annotation, and allows you to introduce a standardized reporting in your organization. Molecular Health Guide can start with genomic data from tumor samples or in a paired setting with whole exome. We support FASTQ or VCF input, and we support all the commercial panels or proprietary panels or whole exome. So we are not associated with any provider here, any sequencing provider, and we are completely free and open. So in case you move to new assays, new technology, we can all support that. We also have a wide range of converters available for VCF format, so you can get easily started with using our platform without changing your output formats, for example, or adapting your pipeline. Additionally, MH-Guide can handle biomarkers from non-NGS data, for example, results from immunohistochemistry assays or FISH, and supports also automated annotation of those non-NGS biomarkers, as well, of course, as of the standard NGS biomarkers. On the non-NGS side, we, for example, support protein expression, gene expression methylation, and, for example, if your assay is not capable of HRD status detection, you can also submit HRD status from other tests. All the identified therapy options are provided with evidence levels, drug approval status in the patient countries, and references to NCCN and ESMO guidelines, and can be included in a standardized and highly customizable report. All your data is based on your validated limits of detection, and reporting preferences automatically pre-filtered, and we automatically fill a draft report to minimize and reduce the number of interactions you have to do per case. The report provides, of course, all identified potentially effective and ineffective therapy options, including detailed descriptions of the biomarkers and genes with references to the publications. It also provides potentially relevant recruiting clinical trials and information on major drug-drug interactions. Key for a efficient reporting, high quality reporting, is a comprehensive and up-to-date database. And in our case, we call our database MH-Dataome. This database is frequently updated in an automatic way. All the data is verified, so basically tested, and the key data is curated and reviewed by experts. And these data constantly are added to our Dataome, where we standardize ontologies, where we standardize variants, connect all the information for use in our products. In our case today, in the focus of this presentation, MH-Guide, but we also have other modules, MH-Guide BRCA for hereditary breast and ovarian cancer, and MH-Guide Mendel for hereditary diseases. The three pillars of our product and the whole workflow are the clinical variant interpretations. We call them CVIs. Those are all curated by biomedical experts and then reviewed and approved by molecular pathologists and oncologists to ensure that they are correct and easy to understand for clinicians. We have such variant interpretations, including rationale and references available for more than 6,000 variants and roughly 500 genes. And those cover more than 30,000 variant drug relations. The standard of those is high enough that they're basically building blocks for your report. And you can just select the ones that you consider relevant for your report with minimal need to refine them. The second pillar are additional information on the drugs and recruiting clinical trials. So we have information from major guidelines like NCCN and ESMO guidelines in. And from ESMO, we have manually curated relevant aspects on the therapy informations and have them all explorable and searchable and matched against the molecular profile of the patient. For clinical trials, we have clinicaltrials.gov, but we also have the WHO trial databases integrated, which include national databases, European databases, and include trials beyond what clinicaltrials.gov offers. Additionally, we have drug approval information per country, so based on the patient country, and information on major drug-drug interactions that might be relevant. The third area is annotation data, which we have for more than 800 million variants, including standard sources like Cosmic, Broca Exchange, GNOMED, ClinVar, but also proprietary curated databases like lab-verified variant functional impacts on protein level, but also on pathway level. So, for example, activating mutations, damaging mutations, etc. We also have additional data that is used for automatic classifications like hotspots in certain genes to automatically pre-classify the variants in addition to our variant interpretations. Our offering contains comprehensive and precise processing of large volumes within a short time. So typical NGS panels from FastQ data are analyzed within less than an hour, smaller panels within minutes. From VCF input, you also have the case available for analysis and reporting within just minutes in the software. And the workflow is really highly optimized so that you get from the variants to the report and sign off of that in a short amount of time. We are technology independent and can use data from all the common platforms and data formats. We have the VCF converters readily available for many common platforms to get you to really get you started really fast. And we offer a lightweight or full integration depending on your needs. So you can either use our ordering portal for manual patient and case data input and file upload, or we can help you with the full integration in your lab systems or hospital systems to upload and start the cases and to retrieve the analysis results once a case is signed off. Our software provides up-to-date and quality-assured data, including the clinical variant interpretation. So that's then nothing you need to care about any longer. And in case you ever find something that's missing, you can, of course, provide this to our support, and we are happy to extend our databases. So we have a full range of support and consulting services, and we are very responsive here, and we are working with you as a partner to establish new tests, to establish MHGuide in your routine, and help you to work with the product as efficient as possible. And also important, since we're not associated with any major providers or with the pharma companies, the data sovereignty, of course, always remains with the user, and we never use the data for any commercial projects or other projects if you don't explicitly agree to that. MHGuide has also advantages for tumor boards. So first, of course, a standardized report, filtered really for what's potentially relevant. We offer our software is provided as a service in the cloud, so all experts can remotely access the software at any time. We have a variety of user roles in place, from read-only users to molecular pathologist user roles who can then sign off cases so that different experts can all access a case and everything in a controlled fashion. So this really simplifies direct collaboration and saves time for everyone involved. And as mentioned, the results can easily be integrated in your digital infrastructure. To give you a few impressions on the software, I'm guiding you through our workflow. The software starts with a view on the variants. It shows you a list, a pre-filtered list of all the identified variants that are, depending on the setup and your limits of detection, already highlighted in green, yellow, or red, depending on the detection quality. You get basic information on variant allele frequency, coverage, quality, frequency of occurrence, and references to standard annotation databases. You get highlighting of variants that are associated with the variant interpretations in our system. You get automatic pre-classifications based on consensus from databases and ACMG automation that we have implemented. And we have a final classification that you can either take over from our suggestions, or you can store it for reuse in future cases. At the click of a variant, you expand the details where you have access to all the variant details, so a G level, C level, IGV browser, outlinks, etc. But you also have access to variant annotation data, like variant classifications, where also data is partially curated by us, functional variant effect data, as previously mentioned, for example, activating on the pathway level, functional impact predictions, conservations, cross-references, other annotation. And as mentioned, outlinks to IGV. And we also provide, as an additional tool to MHGuide, a pathway viewer that overlays well-known cancer pathways with all the variants detected in the patient case to really provide you a comprehensive overview of the patient. Here under ACMG criteria, you find our automated pre-classification based on ACMG criteria that you can refine as needed. If ACMG is not the classification you prefer, you can also just immediately use this drop-down to classify variants into the typical categories from benign to pathogenic, and store your classification together with a comment for full transparency. And all changes you do in the software are fully audit trailed and historized. So all that is covered. As mentioned, the additional pathway viewer provides you with the overview on the pathway level, and also provides with some controls. It highlights genes that are affected by variants in the case. You can filter here to only, for example, visualize pathogenic variants on the pathway. All the potential drug targets are highlighted. And there's also more detailed and research-focused filters, like, for example, based on the compartment the protein is located in. Also, detailed treatment information, so the same as an MHGuide, is provided here as well. As mentioned, the CVIs are the core and building blocks for the report, and they are automatically matched to patient variants from our reference database, either in a disease-specific way, but we also present data from, of course, from other cancer types, then with a little disclaimer that hints you to the fact that those information is not for the patient disease, and of course also with lower scores. We provide two scorings. One is the well-known ASCO CAP category, so the tier 1A to tier 4 categories, but we also provide a MH molecular health scoring here that is a bit more fine granular with preclinical levels, clinical levels, and approved. And from that, you already see that we are very comprehensive with our CVI. So we don't only cover what is approved and what's supported from big clinical studies, but we also have the smaller clinical studies and even preclinical studies covered with detailed variant interpretations and references. At this point, whenever you don't agree with an interpretation or you want to add your own information to the system, you can, of course, either use our CVIs to slightly adjust them and save your own copy, or you can completely create new CVIs for you and your organization from scratch. On the effective tab, but also on the ineffective and safety tab, we provide overview of potential treatment options or treatments that you might not want to consider because the patient is resistant. In those views, we provide you with drug approval information, references to the clinical guidelines, which are also found here later in the workflow. Of course, scorings, access to the affected pathways, and we also highlight potential conflicts in information. So, for example, whenever there is a biomarker that suggests effectiveness and there is another biomarker that suggests resistance, we clearly highlight this to make it easy for you to either resolve this information, so to only report the resistance or the effectiveness, or to report all the information so that the clinician can then make the final decision based on that information. For additional detail for treatment options, we also provide an additional tool outside of MH Guide that's called the Drug Explorer, where we have curated outcomes informations from major clinical trials that are relevant or were relevant for approval of drugs. We have here detailed information on the drugs themselves, on the clinical studies that investigated those drugs with references, details on the cohort analyzed, on the biomarkers analyzed, on the arms, treatment options, dose, and all the outcomes details that are available in the publication, including a digital representation of Kaplan-Meier plots, which we extracted from publications. For potentially effective therapy options, of course, we're also matching clinical trials and provide curated biomarker information. So whether biomarkers are inclusion, exclusion criteria, or are just used for stratification in a trial, we automatically match them. You can set them. You can set the system to pre-report trials automatically, or switch them on as needed, depending on additional information you might have on the patient. We also have options available where trials can be, for example, sorted by distance. The guidelines tab, as mentioned, we are curating ESMO guideline information. So you can see here facts from the guideline, including the therapy line, the treatment options, the biomarkers, details exactly from the guideline curated by us, including evidence levels, and then additionally also a match against the patient molecular profile. So if there is a biomarker identified that suggests effectiveness or resistance to a certain drug from the guidelines, you get this highlighted, and you can also include this information into the report. At the end of the workflow, but already pre-filled, even like when you even haven't started to work, there is the report where you can, in an interactive way, select attachments and sections that you want to include. You can include, of course, your own interpretation in text for the report. You can sign the report electronically, either with just a statement that was machine generated or with a scanned signature that we can include for you. What we also offer, we regularly update our data, and cases can be reanalyzed after data updates, or if you change your default reporting preferences, you can just reanalyze the case without any additional costs. And you can also create then, of course, multiple report revisions and sign out an updated report, for example. As formats of the report, we have XML and JSON, so electronic, highly structured formats for integration in databases and downstream processing, for example, and of course the easy to use read and share PDF format. All the output formats can either be downloaded directly from the user interface or retrieved from our software and included in your downstream workflow in an automated fashion. Now, to give you an impression on the report, we have here a header section with case and patient metadata information, the status of commonly mutated genes in the patient disease, a summary with an easy traffic light system that lists potentially effective, ineffective treatment options, but also If you're, for example, doing a whole exome analysis or have a panel that includes pharmacogenomics genes, we'll also provide you potentially relevant biomarkers, safety biomarkers that indicate, for example, an increased risk of adverse events. As mentioned, the output formats, so the PDF, but also JSON XML formats are highly customizable. We can actually also offer different output formats on request for you for download. And especially MH Guide report, can really be fully tailored to your needs and of course to your customers' needs. And what we offer here, and what I want to describe in a bit more detail, are the customization options that we have and what you can do and what we can do for you. And the whole thing goes from corporate branding to design changes to generally help you to make the report more easy to use for your customers and to make it really in line with your corporate branding. And if we set up one or more templates for you, they automatically apply to all processed cases and will definitely increase your reporting throughput. Here is again a picture of the report, and what we can basically change is here the header section. We can change the key genes based on your needs or based on your panel. We can update the summary. We can update labels here. We can increase, of course, your own logo, but we can do a lot more. So here you see a quick overview of our sections that we have in the report, and they can all be tailored to your needs. And if there is additional information you want to include in the report, you can also include new section, also optional sections that you can then select when finalizing the report based on the need. We have here 3 packages. One is the basic package, which is pretty much a standard to add a logo, contact details, and of course, lab-specific or lab test-specific appendix and disclaimers. But we also have extended offerings that cover design changes to static texts, inclusion of new sections, removal of sections, for example. Or also, if you want to have additional fields, metadata in, we can also customize the system for you to accept additional input, like, for example, pre-treatments, detailed descriptions of the patient status, etc. And all that can be included in the software and in the report for you. And in our Pro offering, we even go beyond that, and we can cover, for example, data visualizations for you, or implement sections based on logic defined by you, and add basically any data that's available in the system but not displayed on the report. Further advantages, of course, as mentioned, our software is IVD CE marked, and we also ensure secure data transmission and provide data encryption for key data, for example, like patient names and date of birth, and of course guarantee the data privacy with being compliant to GDPR, Gen Diagnostic in Germany, and also to HIPAA in the US, and we also CAP-CLIA certified dry lab. Summarizing the benefits of MH Guide, so we are platform and panel independent. We are a CE-IVD software. We provide you with access to curated, up-to-date knowledge, and that actually results in time savings for you with a fast, intuitive workflow, with a high degree of automation and pre-selection, a highly customizable output format that we provide, log in from anywhere via software as a service. And our servers and services are located in Europe, so in Germany, and they are running on our own hardware. So they're not running in some Amazon or Microsoft cloud, but really on our hardware and our environment. With all that, I want to thank you very much for your attention. And in case you're interested in a live demonstration or more details on the software, feel free to reach out to Thomas Holtrup, our head of sales and business development in EMEA, or to Julia Germeyer from customer services. And I'm now happy to answer any of the questions that came up in the chat. Okay, so I see there is one question if our software does have any FDA approval or equivalent approval. So if this is meant for equivalent approval in the US, I mean, we don't have an FDA equivalent approval in the US, and to our understanding is also currently not required. We offer the services in the US under our CAP Clear Dry Lab certification. So that's something that's, to my knowledge, not possible any longer for new labs, but we have the status and we are maintaining the status and can offer our services through CAP Clear. In Europe, we are, of course, as mentioned, certified as an IVD, and we also have registrations in other areas ongoing, and we are currently also on track with our IVDR registration for 2022. The next question is if our software is handling CNV data. And yes, we are handling CNV data on a gene level, so gene amplification or deletion level. We also have contents in place. We can either, as mentioned, handle this from VCF or from FastQ in paired analysis. So we need a control sample for reliable CNV detection, and can, of course, then also detect CNVs, provide you with visualizations, and have all the content available. In case of unpaired analysis, so a panel without control or tumor normal analysis, basically, we don't provide this. For hemato-oncology, we also have content available. So also hemato-oncology cases can be processed with our system. And there's the question if we have data archiving options or offers included. So we are not a data archiving provider. And so we are archiving data based on the local regulatory requirements, but we are not a data archiving provider. Okay, are there additional questions? No further questions, it says in the chat. So I hope I have answered all your questions. And if there are any questions, I mean, I'll be around for a few more minutes, so feel free to post them in the chat. And as mentioned, we are very happy to give you a demo to answer any additional questions offline. So whenever they come up. So if you watch again a copy of this presentation or so and have questions, just reach out to our colleagues, and we are happy to answer them and help you if you're interested to implement Molecular Health Guide in your workflow. I think something that I haven't mentioned, of course, I mean, we are active worldwide, so we are providing our solutions all across Europe as an IVD, of course, but we are also providing our solutions as offshore offerings in Asia, for example, or as mentioned under CAP Clear in the US. So wherever you are from, we can help you with our software. Since there are no additional questions coming in, I think we can prematurely close the session. Thank you very much again for your interest, and have a great evening and enjoy the rest of the AMP conference. Bye.